welcome along to Diecast Restos. I'm Jason and this is a Matchbox Porsche 928 that was first seen in 1980. These models had mainline releases up until 1987, with other varieties appearing until 1989. This silver with light and dark blue Tampo livery was available between 1984 and 1987. Mine has definitely seen better times. The paint is pretty much ruined, both doors have been forced inwards so hard that the stopper lug now prevents them from opening, and it has a broken A-pillar. For this custom restoration, I'm going with some classic teledial wheels supplied by Creative 164. I'll also be painting the body red, so it should hopefully look like the pic from a moment ago once I've worked my magic on it. When Matchbox 928 models first arrived in 1980, they were still made in England by Lesney. These cars had understated tan silver bodies coupled with a tan interior. Things got a bit more lively in 1981 when the body was recoloured in electric blue. The final Lesney issues in 1982 prior to their bankruptcy were painted black and were equipped with a red interior, clear window piece and white stripe and Porsche tampos. Production switched to Macau following Universal Toys takeover. Little changed on the 1983 model except for the transparency now being orange tinted. 1984 to 1987 mainline models match mine with that orange window and red interior carried over. Tampos were applied to all sides bar the rear, reading Porsche 928. For its final Matchbox mainline year, it was only available in the rest of world markets outside of the US. A white and blue painted model featuring orange, red and white Porsche racing tampos joined the 1986 Superfast series. These had red interiors, clear windows and the short-lived but very stylish starburst wire wheels. The same livery was adopted on the 1988 Laser Wheels entry, with the starburst wheels swapped for shiny discs instead. The casting's final outing was in the first series of world-class models in 1989. This model lacked an interior, with the transparency now covered in a reflective material. It was painted in a metal flake grey, had 928S tampos on each now sealed closed door, and the details were all intricately picked out. That included the bonnet emblem, pop-up headlights and headlamp clusters, side running lights and turn signals, cast-in registration, door handles and tail lights. Its wheels were a Goodyear rubber-clad 6-spoke turbine design. I have one of these in almost as bad a condition as this one started out like, which I'll set to work on one day. The model arrived in the Matchbox range 2 years after the launch of the real car. During the 70s, Porsche executives had been eager to expand their vehicle lineup with a more fuel-efficient luxury touring car. With declining sales of their 911 sports car, Porsche managing director Ernst Fuhrmann envisioned conventional front-engined luxury Grand Tourers as the future of the company, contrasting the rear-engined, air-cooled and more Spartan 911. In order to further infiltrate the lucrative US market, a V8 motor and a spacious interior with 2 rear child seats was on the agenda. The 928 design study commenced in 1971, in the process becoming the first wholly Porsche designed car. By 1973, essential development was complete and a prototype was being tested. However, the outbreak of Arab-Israeli war brought the threat of an energy crisis, and so large-engined car sales plunged. Production of the 928 was then pushed back to 1977. It eventually debuted at that year's Geneva Motor Show, equipped with a 4.5 litre V8. That produced 237 horsepower in European spec and 219 for the North American market. With its front-engined, rear-wheel drive layout, Porsche utilised a transaxle to achieve 50-50 weight distribution. Despite being heavier, performance of these early 928s would be similar to the 911. It also incorporated the Weissach axle, which is a passive rear steering system designed to enhance stability under braking and in turns. Cars came with a 5-speed dogleg manual transmission or a 3-speed Mercedes-derived auto. A 4-speed box would later replace the 3-speed. The 928's distinctive pop-up headlights, which remained visible when retracted, were based on the lighting units found on the Lamborghini Miura. This helped to achieve the sleek front end as designed by Wolfgang Möbius. The 928 would become the first and so far only sports car to win the European Car of the Year award in 1978. The bodywork received front and rear spoilers on the S and S2 variants from 1980 through until 1986, when the second iteration of 928 replaced the original. S models were equipped with a 4.7 litre V8. They were also fitted with wider wheels and tyres. Power was up to 296 horsepower on the first S models. These would not appear in the US until 1983. The old 4.5 litre engine was dropped in 1982. Later, the US would receive a 5 litre V8. This would become standard on all models from 1986 when the 928 received its styling update. It now had a cleaner, sleeker and more modern look with its new spoiler, front and rear bumpers and front and rear light assemblies. A lighter Club Sport model arrived for 1988, followed by the GT in 1989. For 1992, the GTS replaced all other models, featuring the largest engine offering yet, a 5.4 litre V8 capable of 345 horsepower. Production of the 928 GTS continued up until 1995, when it was discontinued and not replaced. Over 60,000 928s were built during its 17-year lifespan. In that time, there were several special editions produced. Among them was the 942, a gift to Ferry Porsche on his 75th birthday. This had an extended wheelbase to allow for taller rear seat passengers. The headlamps were replaced with advanced projection lights, while it also featured the new front and rear bumpers 2 years before they would enter production. Despite the increase in size, the vehicle's weight only increased by 75 kilos. Later, Porsche and AMG together produced some long wheelbase 928s which, unlike the 942, had the regular 928 headlamps. 3 years later, in 1987, a prototype 4-door study was built featuring suicide doors. While little came of the project at the time, the Study H50 car came to prominence again 2 decades later when the 4-door Panamera launched. In terms of racing, while Porsche themselves never built a 928 as a works entry, they did arrange for the creation of the 928 GTR, which was raced against 911 GTRs by Max Moritz Racing. In 1984, Porsche sent an experimental all-aluminium 928S to Daytona for the 24 Hours race. Brumos Racing entered the car, but they were told by Porsche not to modify it in any way. The car proved unstable on the high banks, but Porsche declined the addition of a rear wing to improve this. After some suspension tinkering, the car would eventually finish 4th in the GTO class and 15th overall. One of the drivers claimed that the car could have finished 5th overall if it were not for a lengthy pit stop to fix some bodywork damage. Speaking of body damage, let's remind ourselves now how my Matchbox model was looking when I first picked it up. This paint-thinned Porsche looks like it had had the stuffing kicked out of it. I'm not quite sure how, but the doors had been pushed in with such force that they found themselves inside the cabin, behind the lugs that were designed to stop such an event from happening. A likely casualty of this is the damage to the A-pillar, but remarkably, the tinted transparency remained intact. So there were a few things to fix on this 928, but it wasn't anything a new coat of paint, new wheels, and some detailing couldn't sort out. And this is the result, a very stock looking 928 as I set out to achieve. I chose red as I do love a classic Porsche in that colour, but it also helps draw attention away from the heavy orange tint of the transparency. The black instead of red interior also helps aid that venture. I really enjoyed detailing this one. I find these late 70s Lesney era Matchbox castings to be incredibly well detailed for the time, perfectly lending themselves to a bit of visual improvement. Creative 164 offers a huge range of Porsche wheels, but the only style for me for this project were the extremely period teledials. They are ideal for a 924 or a 928 build, and I think that they complement the car and the improvements I've brought to it. But what do you reckon? Leave the video a like if you enjoyed it, and drop your thoughts in the comments. But all that leaves me to say is thanks for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.